Gypsy Rose Blanchard, it's a topic. She's a topic. She's a human being that is on a lot of people's minds right now with her release from prison and the new docu-series that's out on Lifetime, documenting what she went through while in prison and what she went through with her own mother, in her own words. Without a doubt, someone who went through horrific child abuse. While in prison, she's made the decision to get married. Actually, has been engaged more than once while behind bars, much to the caution of her own family. That's what we're going to talk about in this segment today with Robin Dreeke, retired FBI special agent. It's a story that I'm so confused by. Every time I look at it, I am more confused on how I feel about it. Certainly, everyone is entitled to love. I hope she has a great life outside of prison, and she's able to succeed and focus on the mission that she's expressed that she has of raising awareness about Munchausen by proxy, and hopefully does some good along the way. But it is very difficult to watch what appears to be a train wreck in progress. I'm specifically talking about decisions being made about her personal life, about getting married to someone who thought it was a wise idea to write someone in prison who, for all intents and purposes, had been publicized as looking like a disabled child. Him coming out saying, I was so attracted to her. There's a lot that was very, very bizarre and disturbing to me. Let's start with just, let's take all the dynamics that we know about this case out of it, and we'll get there in a moment, but just the idea. It takes an interesting someone to say, I've exhausted my prospects here. Let's go to the prison system and look for love.
Yeah, I've been looking at this one too, because much like you, it's positive, it's tragic, it's compelling her
Mhm.
story because of what was done to her, the abuse she's been through. I think she is doing a great job of bringing awareness, and will do a great job of bringing awareness to how do you say it?
Munchausen
Munchausen
by proxy. Yep.
Munchausen by proxy, which is very rare, but real, and it's also I think it'll help people become aware of trauma as well, even if it doesn't reach that level. So good on her for that. But doing the research for this, there's actually a term for people that are attracted to people in prison. It's hybris, hybristophilia. And
Hi.
typically, if you look up that word, hybristophilia, it generally is women attracted to men behind bars. Like Jeffrey Dahmer got
Mhm.
fan mail.
Oh,
People
yeah.
want to marry these serial killers because of this. They're attracted to people like this. So it's termed for females attracted to men behind bars, but this is a very rare case of a male attracted to a female. I say rare only because there's not that many females that murder or are accused of
Mhm.
murder. So there's going to be less cases of them, in other words. But it looks like, again, pure conjecture,
Yeah.
from the data points we have, she's damaged,
Mhm.
went through a lot of trauma. I hope she's getting counseling she needs to get through all that to become a healthy, emotionally healthy and stable individual, as well as her new husband. It looks like he may have, who knows what he's been through. I know he's a special ed teacher, and he wrote her a letter off of a kind of like a dare, like his
Yeah.
friend wrote some other serial killer, and he wrote a letter, and 3 meetings later they're engaged.
Yeah. I mean, the
Eh,
the the whole dynamic is bizarre. I mean, immediately it starts out almost with the weird justification of, I had a friend and she said that she was going to write Tiger King. So I said, you know what?
yeah, that's a
I'm going
Tiger
to
King.
write Gypsy Rose. I mean, it's downplaying the whole situation. It's an attempt to normalize the situation when it's not something that's normal to do. And then, yes, they on the third meeting they get engaged, but they had been communicating for about a year. There's also inconsistencies in the story as well. I've watched several interviews now with him. I've watched the documentary, and one of the things that stands out, number one, is the intent here. Initially, it's, oh, I'm just curious, I'm just going to write this girl. And that's all it is. And then it gets a little bit deeper. The next time you hear him talking about it, I watched the Mommy Dead and Dearest, and I thought, wow, she's really cute. She's really something. And I'm paraphrasing here. The Mommy Dead and Dearest portrayed Gypsy Rose mainly as a disabled small child. Um, the idea that someone walked away from Mommy Dead and Dearest going, she's a looker, or whatever you want to say, is kind of disgusting to me and disturbing. No, she's grown up. She's gone into her own. But from the context of what he's saying, he was attracted to at that moment in time a disabled child that clearly has a lot of issues. Seems a little bit odd or extremely messed up.
So let's look at there's a few things to kind of take a look at here
Yeah.
again from our third optic back here. One is one of the characteristics, again, the science on this is not heavy, the research, but some of the data points they're saying is that the women that fall in love with men behind bars, part of that compulsion is to save them. They can
Okay.
fix them, they can heal them, they can make them better, which we can kind of see a little bit of here. If she's a wounded child, he might have that similar compulsion. Another thing here at play is let's look at his behavior arc. He is a special needs teacher.
He actually lost his job when they found out he was
Right.
romantically
So
involved with
so
Gypsy Rose.
so he's attracted to
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Uh, Emotionally, and also fantasization is also a big part of what attracts people behind, to people behind bars is they can fantasize about this relationship that can never be, so they can build it up to be much more than it is. But she's released, and so I think there's a lot of elements that are probably playing into this. They're both probably very wounded people.
Mhm.
I know we know she is, maybe he is as well. And so when they find each other, it comes this maelstrom of um, maybe unhealthy validation,
Mhm.
or at least validation in some respect. Maybe, you can see her getting attention from him in a positive way, that she might not have been getting from other people. She said that, he understands me. I mean, he comes across, according to her, as very empathetic. Very, that's all I'll say about that. But it's,
Yeah.
so you see a lot of data points here that can kind of say you can understand how it happened with all this dysfunction around both of
Yeah.
them, maybe.
Well, I mean, you can to a certain extent. There's not a lot. I found it interesting that we didn't really see anything about his friends or family in anything that we've heard
Or
about,
data points,
or
isn't
data
there?
points, or we are aware that he had a previous relationship as a child that was never brought up again in anything ever again. And it's very difficult to really find much information on this gentleman. Maybe, and that's a lot of people. It is they just never had much of a public profile. Maybe he hasn't. But there's just so many points on this that are just hit the creepy ick factor with me that I don't know. I feel like a bad person almost pointing these things out, but I'm not. I just not getting on this bandwagon of this is oh lovely and great and joyous and sweet and cute because I think we're watching a train wreck happen here in real time. And at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot. Oh well, who would have seen that coming? All of us, all of everyone basically who didn't just jump on the bandwagon. One of the data points that I thought was very interesting with him is just that he was a special education teacher for sixth grade students. It's and being attracted to that in terms of professionally a mission in life or a goal like I want to help people, that's one thing. If I
Mhm.
were a parent of one of the special needs children and I found out that the teacher is reaching out and engaging with Gypsy Rose Blanchard, someone who's only been portrayed as a special needs child, and this is an adult. My kid would be out of that school like that. That would not be the teacher anymore. And I'm imagining there was probably a handful of parents who said the same thing because that seems like a very bizarre data point to be connecting. This is what you're into professionally. These are special needs kids. There should be no sexual component to any of this. Um, and the fact that the first thing is like, oh, she's really cute. She's a special needs child, at least portrayed as that from all you knew. I don't know. I mean, this just seems like a very glaring data point of of ickiness that is just kind of being glossed over because oh, they found love.
I'm glad the school fired him.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, they did the right thing. I mean, you're 100% right on everything you're saying. There's just it deviates from standard normal behavior big
completely.
time. And yeah, we can't say because we don't have any other arcs of his life that we're seeing, but except her and his previous job.
Hmm.
What caused it, what they're going to do from here. But yeah, I'm with you. It looks like it's probably going to be some sort of drama. Who
Hmm.
knows, train wreck? But there's going to be drama here, most likely, because you have people. Everyone's healing from something, but it looks
Sure.
like they're making theirs on public spectacle.
Yeah.
Um, I think the important thing that we do on our show here is what people can really take from this is that recognize unhealthy behavior so
Yeah.
you know what to avoid.
Hmm.
Because when you see these things, our first compulsion may be to celebrate and cheer her on because she's out of prison, she's been made whole again, she's found love, but never rush too fast sometimes. Take that second back and kind of slow down and say to yourself, hmm, what's going on here? And what's it really mean? What do we really need to do about it? What do we really know about it
Hmm.
before we rush to a positive or negative judgment? It's what we do as researchers, scientists, and observers of human behavior.
I found it interesting. Her whole family, who her dad, the stepmom, who's completely stepped in and up, and everybody that's trying to be a part of her life now that they know the reality of what's going on. None of them were for this marriage. It was slow down. It's okay. He can be your boyfriend, whatever. But slow down. This is not a good idea. Something that comes to mind because just watching the dynamics of all of this is like why would she deviate from that? Is she that, kind of into herself, motivated just because of everything that she's been through? That she's gonna go and do whatever she wants because now she has the ability to do that. Is that just in her? Would she have listened to the parents? Would she have not gotten married had the parents said, or had there not been cameras around? I guess is the question. That's the point I'm getting to because it reminds me a little bit about the Rex Heuermann case and the cameras that are following around Asa Elrup. And I believe Asa believes that the cameras are there to tell her story. The cameras are there to have her slip up so they can eventually arrest her and put her away. That's the goal of that documentary. And
And to
if it
make money
and to make
off of
money.
her.
And if anybody thinks that's not the goal, they're sadly mistaken.
Right.
Same with the cameras here that have been following around Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Uh, they're not there for just the good and the warmth and let's get somebody's story out. They're wanting some sort of drama. And I'm concerned about something like this, where how much was their producers standing there? Because it says they've been talking with her for the last 18, 20 months through all of this going on and the build up to everything going on. How much of it was producers sitting there going, you deserve love, Gypsy. You can get it. Because if you listen to some of the interviews on that Lifetime doc, there's not a lot of objective opinion going on towards Gypsy. At least not that we've seen on camera. It's very much whatever you want. Let's just keep steering you and giving you energy to go down whatever random horrible road you choose because you make such great judgments and choices. And I'm not. She's dealing with the cards that she was given. She's going to make bad choices. That's just a
Right.
given. But then you have cameras and money and people fall. Yes, go do this. I am wondering if this marriage would have taken place had there not been cameras in front of her.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Here's my hope for this situation that I get the I do my little granular things here that I get a sense and a tingle of hopefully similar to the way healthy families raise their kids and their kids enter adulthood. It's very important for them to be able to get their life reps, as we say.
Hmm.
At the same time, we have the guardrails up around for them. In other words, they're I know with my own kids, my kids are grown. If I came in and said, "You're not gonna do this, you're not gonna do this," what happens is communication will stop,
Sure.
and I just won't know. and they'll go off the rails on their own, and there'll be a train wreck and crash, and all the cameras are there to see. Not my kids, but in this case, right?
Yes.
And so hopefully, and this is another one of our life lessons to all our viewers and ourselves, is that hopefully we have that loving enough relationship, as we're hopefully seeing here, that there is communication between the family and her, so that they keep that open dialogue and open communication. As we say, trust is built on open, honest communication, transparency, and vulnerability. And if that is open and maintained, they're not going to be able to stop her and her compulsions that she's got to do to get out of her system. But hopefully, they're close enough in their relationship to set guardrails around her for when she starts falling off this edge, they're there. Come back center again. And she starts falling off the center, come back center again here. So I am in this case with her, I imagine the she's just doing her thing. She's reacting to the world
She
around her,
is.
I
Yeah.
think. And the family is probably like this, doing
Hmm.
all they can to manage keeping a dialogue with her
Yeah.
and keeping guardrails really tight around her without her shutting them out.
Yeah.
Because, I would imagine me as a parent, I would fear that the press would align against me. And if the press aligns against me, that's means she's going to align against me and everyone's going to shut me out. So I got to
Sure.
ride that balance. And so my hope in this one is family will save the day
Yeah.
and guide her as she fumbles
Mhm.
through her recovery from her life trauma.
Yeah, and I hope the same, and it does seem that they are there now finally, and hopefully that will be the case because she will fumble, and that's just it's to be expected. It'd be shocking if she didn't, just from what she's gone through.
Finally is a fascinating word to use too. And so if you use that word finally, that means other people have used the word finally, and maybe Gypsy Rose herself has used that word finally. And finally can also build resentment because you weren't there before.
Yeah.
So we don't know what her feelings and emotions are towards them, and maybe they're aware of that. So they have to tread lightly also because they weren't there when they needed to be there, or what more importantly, when she thought they needed to be there. So there's
Hmm.
a lot of family dynamics going on here that we're not aware of. All we see is potential train wreck, like you said. And let's
Yeah,
just keep our fingers crossed for her
I
and everyone involved.
I agree. Hey, it's Tony Brueski. If you like the podcast, be sure to like, subscribe, and press that bell so you don't miss any of our updates on the cases we're following for you right here at the Hidden Killers podcast from True Crime Today. And thanks